Okay, and we have our last and probably the most important compositional element, light. Light is the beast, guys. You can have a little bit of like sloppy knowledge of camera lenses and camera position, but if you don't understand how to play with the light, you're losing a lot. Because light basically is everything. Whenever you have a black composition with no light, there is no story, right? But once you put a light in it, you start seeing stories. So if you know how to play with light, know how to use those tricks, you can dramatically improve your storytelling. So let's jump straight into my 3D template that I made for you. And it's very simple. Actually, there is no physical light in this scene. Everything is just a texture. That's why it looks very graphic. So having this light setup, it kind of everything screams this girl is a main character because she's got a lot of contrast. She's black silhouetted against white. She also have a single color kind of the biggest spot in the frame. That's why everything in this frame makes her as a main character. But let's see if we can change this setup just by changing our light. And once again, it's not a physical light. It's basically this color map painted and projected on this geometry. So that's why I like this method. It's just so instant, you don't need to wait for anything. And let's just start scrolling this map, like changing different things. And as I slide across, you can see how many things they start changing. Like for example, she was a unique person with only red color, but now, like for example, this is a completely different story. It is the same setting, the same amount of people, but just because I changed the light, now it became this frame, and this story is not about her, but about everything in this frame. These could be people like from a same clan, or these could be people that are just about to departure somewhere and everybody looks the same, they have a uniform. Let's just keep sliding this texture and see what we can get. Like as I move, everything changes, the composition changes. Like it's not more about this girl because she doesn't have the strongest contrast, even though she's the biggest in the frame. Now it's probably about this guy because he has a lot of contrast, you know? Like, or these two guys, you know? Let's just keep sliding and see what we can end up with. Or maybe shifting the texture as well. So now you see it's a completely different lighting setup. Even though it's not a real light, it just changes everything. Now it's more like you can travel along the frame, you can look here and then go deeper there, look at this guy, look at these people. So within one picture, you start seeing more and more stories just by manipulating that light. That's why when you are on set, there is a huge group of people who are responsible for lighting on the stage. Just because they want to do their best to tell the story that director has in mind. And let's just keep playing and see what we can end up having. Look at this now. Now it's more about these two guys, or more even about this guy, because he is on composition wise, he is just perfectly placed. So this girl is dominant as well, but she's not the main hero anymore. She's fading, she's just blending into the rest of this crowd. So now it's all about this guy, and all I did is just changing the light. That's why Light is a very strong compositional instrument and tool. I did like a small screen grab of the stuff before, so let me just jump straight into it. Like, for example, it was the same setting, but the way it changed the story. So before, this girl was a main girl, but now we can see this three guys behind her. They are also, for example, if you just draw something unifying them, now you understand that this is a story about this squad, whereas the main girl, the leader of the squad is this, maybe this guy's the next one, this guy's next, and so far. So just by using different lighting in the same framing with the same camera angle and lens, we got a completely different story. And imagine how many crazy and different versions you can get. Oh, if I can get back to what's going on. Okay, hold on. Okay, so imagine how many different stories I can get by just using different lighting. And telling those stories within one frame is so exciting. Like, now I can see this, like the story shifts towards these guys. Maybe these guys are doing something together over here. And it's all about light. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a physical light. That's why, as a concept artist, we've got the full power. We've got more power than even these guys on set. That's why they always keep asking us to change things, because you cannot tweak and prepare everything perfectly. But we, because we are in the virtual world and we can use anything, like just use our mind and create different infinite amount of stories just by using light. Let me jump into the next example, which will be, hold on. Okay. So basically what I did, let me go to KeyShot as well. I've got this same scene but just different angle. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so we've got this setting. It's this girl walking, and I'm using all those elements from a previous chapters about camera lens, which I'm using a wide lens because I want to see less background, more depth of field, because it's more about her walking. And I'm also using like a low angle camera position just to emphasize that she is a dominant person in this frame. And if I was doing, like, for example, my abstract exercise, which you did a lot in lesson 2, the way it would look like if I zoom out, it would look like very simple. It would probably be something like this, right? Boom. Right? So this easy abstract shape could be turned into a very complicated and highly sophisticated and beautiful frame if you know how to go from here to here. And the reason why I was forcing you to do those abstract exercises, because abstract exercises, they are timeless. Any story, you can fit any kind of story within these abstract shapes, and I will show you how. Look, I took exactly 3 different, like the same, oops, pardon me. the same composition, and just by putting those extra details, I was able to tell different stories in a different time period. Like, this is a medieval kind of scenery when we know these are spears and we have a nice crown and stuff like that. This is more like a Hunger Games, right? We've got military, we've got like Katniss, and they are walking towards somewhere. And this is more like a sci-fi story. This could be a Mass Effect, right? And it's all started from that abstract shape. And from here, I want to go back to something that I kept saying from a very first lesson. Remember, I told you guys that this was you, and the long way between you towards your stories, right? And I told you that this way looks like this. You've got principles, which we are covering in every lecture, and we've got tools and techniques and practice. And then we actually have a fun part, which is creative part. So what I don't agree with, and I keep always minimizing, is this part. I think it's too long because it's a lifetime challenge. So my graph that I want to offer to you guys it has the same object and the same goal, but what I really want to do is to minimize this gap for tools, technique, and practice. Make the gap for principles bigger, because I think having strong principles will make you much more successful artist. And the most important, to make fun part, which is creative part, much larger chunk of what you're doing. Because once you start to concentrate on creative part, your stories will be much better. And how we will do this, and you can already see me doing it, like doing this abstract exercise, this thing. You don't need to know perspective, light, shadow, anything. It's just very simple. And then we will use different tools, like for example, like I use 3D. I use 3D to block out everything, because all I wanted to concentrate on was the story, the creative part of it, the fun part of it. Like I enjoy designing things, it's all about design and storytelling. It's not about setting cameras, it's not about thinking about perspective, depth of field. I just want to enjoy the fun part of it. Like for example, I will show you methods that will allow you to frame your picture but still think purely about design and have that frame changing as you design things. Because our main goal is to be creative. Like there's so many people who know tools, who are very technical, who have like a crazy good skills in painting and drawing or modeling or anything. But I think the most fun part is being creative, because once again, it's about this bad guy in our head. Once that guy works, basically you have more value as an artist, and you have more freedom actually to do different ideas, to play with multiple universes, and just to tell your stories instead of trying to actually learn how to do them for 15 years and then have 2 years or 3 years to actually make those happen. So that's all about cinematic principles, and in the next lesson I will jump straight into these shortcuts that will allow you to be designing and thinking purely about story, but still having everything framed properly and still having the freedom of changing angles and lighting as you go, as you design. So see you in the next one.